you perking? I hope you're perking good. So, highly requested video again. The Karen Reed retrial. Taking a look at that today to see what on earth we can figure out and tease apart. I have already done 2 videos related to Karen Reed. That was back in, let me check my little dates that I have written here. That was back on June 13th of last year, 2024, is when I recorded that video. So June 13th, 2024 were the 2 videos I did on Karen Reed's first trial. Today, at the time of filming, it is Tuesday, May 20th. And we are, I don't know how far into the retrial. I haven't watched the trial proceedings. I know that the defense has not come on yet. I know that they're going to have a long weekend for Memorial Day, that's the one, coming up. So we're still in the first half of the trial where it's the prosecution presenting their case at the point of filming today. So we're going to see what else we can find out today that we haven't already looked at in the previous 2 videos. Mostly what people are looking here to try to find out are what are the jury opinions basically on what's going on right now. Is the jury feeling like they are leaning more in favor of the prosecution or more in favor of the defense at this point? And certainly people are wanting me to take a look at potential for the trial outcome, the retrial outcome. So we've got a lot of stuff to look in here today and to kind of compare it to what came up last time. I'm going to try to keep all this straight. I've got a bunch of little notes here that I've written from all your questions and things like that you have sent into the comments. So we're going to take a big look into that today. I am a licensed mental health clinician as well as a spiritual intuitive, and in these videos we take a look at the tea with the tarot. Don't let that freak you out. I got a good track record here on the channel. And speaking of track record, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the clip here where last time I filmed the first videos, like I said, on June 13th of last year, before I even knew that a hung jury was a thing. That was back when I thought either you're guilty or you're not guilty. I didn't realize that you could, have a mistrial, and that it could be a hung jury. Back then, the outcome that I saw of the trial was what actually happened. I just didn't know that that's what it was called. So before we even get into what we're going to dive in today, take a look at a year ago, me predicting the outcome of the first Karen Reed trial. Here we go. Y'all know that my first question that I have here is, how will the trial go for Karen? How will the trial go for the police/state? So in terms of doing that, I'm like, to keep it under control, I'm going to do it this one way. I don't know if the way I'm about to do it is going to keep it under control or not. So that's going to be an experiment. We're going to see if this actually indeed does keep it under control or if it still goes off the reins. Let's experiment here together. Again, how will the trial go for Karen? Let's do doot, doot, doot. And then how will the trial go for the police/state? Doot, doot, doot. Let's do it that way. So Karen, top row. Okay. Wow. And the police/state. Okay. Okay. Wow. So in terms of Karen's, the death card, that's when something ends. That's when it's like, all right, time to change and transition and move over into a new chapter, close this chapter out. So interesting. I was just like blinking rapidly as I'm staring at the cards. Also with the Knight of Pentacles upright, this is like a slow ride, but y'all know he's my slowest knight in the deck, but he's also my most dependable knight in the deck when he comes out in his upright position here. So this is like something that's been a long time coming, but here's the prize at the end. Here in the middle is this big jumble of the good and the bad and the ugly and the indifferent and the whatever. So it looks like the rest of the trial is going to have a mix of things for her. There's going to be things that happen here that is good for her and looks good for her. And there's going to be things in here that's bad for her and looks bad on her, about her, for her. It's going to be a mix. So for people who are like, oh, everything's going to look great and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't see that. Not for her. Or people who are like, oh, you know, she needs to get raked to the coals. I don't see that either for her. I see this is a long time coming, a long build, but this is a positive card. And when the death card comes up here upright, I mean, that's a big period at the end of a sentence. That's a big, like, this is over, transition, whatever. So I don't know. You know, it's weird because a lot of people fear this card. This card is not in a great position, but this one is. Let's go ahead and get one more context card on this for people who fear this card. I think it's a better card to see upright technically myself, but let's just, you know, yeah, see, when I was thinking of it as being more of a positive sign, and here we get a 3 of Wands on it, which is a positive sign. It's a very similar energy, this 3 of Wands to this Knight of Pentacles, in that this is like I'm waiting here at the shore for my ships to come in, and with it being an upright position, they do come in, you know, so it's like I'm waiting and then I get what I'm waiting for, and this here, so I don't know, this is kind of looking pretty decent for her. Just putting that out there, that looks pretty decent for her. So, interesting. Down here, though, Justice card upright, 8 of Cups upright, Strength card in reverse. Again, we're seeing that distancing. Like, you know, trying to get a distance here from me and this and that and whatever. That's weird. I mean, especially because, again, this state and the police, they are the prosecution, yeah? Those are the people that are like, I'm trying to come at you and prove this, and I'm going to take it all the way, send her to jail or whatever. So why is there a distancing? That's not like a dog coming after a bone, a dog ready to bite or whatever. That's like I'm trying to back off some kind of a way. Why would that be a passive energy or a distanced energy? There's something weird about that. I don't understand that. But I do see their Justice card coming up right, which usually is a good sign to see in terms of cases and things like that. A lot of times when we see Justice cards upright, that means, you know, them winning a trial, but hers already looked good. So I don't understand how her side here could look good, more on the positive side, and the Justice card coming up right for them, which usually suggests them winning. You can't both win, you know, because their Strength card, once again, is coming up in reverse. I mean, and we saw that like the entire time in the other video, they were talking about the weakness of this, and this is coming up in reverse. So distancing coming up in reverse, but yet the Justice card here, it could just mean justice will be done. Could be as simple as that. Could also mean things in balance. I don't know. Here I am being an ignoramus, but there's no way cases end where it's like stalemates, right? Where, you know, the whole balance card where, you know, nobody wins, nobody loses, stalemate. There's no way that happens. What's the version of that? Like you're either guilty or you're not guilty, right? So what would that be? Like it just be I don't know what a neutral kind of way. I don't know why so I don't know if this is balance and neutrality, if this is justice being done, but it's just weird to get it's throwing me off to get the Justice card up right here for their row, and yet seeing some solid strength here for Karen's row. Let me get one on this. I got one on that. Let me get one on this. Context. Okay, we're gonna pull this one because it's out in a weird way. Ooh, attorney card maybe, because usually when we get our like King of Swords, we're talking about attorney card in reverse, or some kind of insights, understandings, in reverse, things that we know in reverse, because that's a mental card in reverse. Again, with the whole, we're juggling things and possibly dropping the ball, you know, again with that kind of a vibe. And the World card here in reverse, if it's not over till it's over. Is there a way that this can end in a way that doesn't feel over? Is that what's happening here? Is there a way that this can like end in a way where it's like, yeah, it's over, but it's not over? All right, so we see what happened last time compared to what I saw. Apparently that's what I was seeing and just had no idea that there was a such thing as a hung jury and a mistrial. Here we go. So this time, let's go ahead and start diving into some of these new questions that y'all brought up. So I am gonna bring up the cards over here and move this microphone right here. Old Penelope and her pinks matching me and my pinks. So let's see. I'm gonna get all shuffled up here, and as always, this is all alleged, just my interpretation. Okay. Last time when I was kind of asking about, you know, Karen Reed versus asking questions about the state. Last time, the cards, the things coming up in the cards didn't look particularly great for either of them. It's to be honest, it's not like the cards were necessarily speaking highly of Karen Reed or of the state. There was like a lot of not so great sloppiness and you know, character flaws and things like that coming up in both sides. So, you know, in fairness, that's kind of how that went last time. So this time we're going to be kind of taking a peek into how the jury is seeing it, how this particular retrial jury is seeing it. So I'm interested in, are they kind of leaning more towards believing Karen Reed's side with the defense, or are they more towards the state and believing the prosecution's story, timeline, whatever? So let's just see what the jury is thinking at this point in the trial. And again, at the time of filming, today is May 20th. So like halfway through or something. I don't know. Still with the prosecution's presentation, I guess is what you would call it. So let's see how the jury is currently feeling about all this. Let's get this started. Take a peek into their opinions. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. And honestly, it's interesting that an Empress card and a Queen of Swords both came up and both in an upright position, because in a second, actually, I might show another clip from, you know what? No, don't show it now. Okay. I'm just getting excitable because I'm like, hold on, wait a second. From what I'm seeing here and then what I'm seeing there, but I don't want to be like showing clips from the past and then this right in the middle. I need to like stick with one, finish reading this, and then I'll show you the clip. So the clip I'm going to show you in a second is in the second video that I did on the Karen Reed first trial back on June 13th of last year. I did a main channel reading, and then I did a Perk Squad reading that only the channel members saw. And in that one, people had a question about, well, who did this? What happened to John O'Keefe? Like, he is not getting enough representation here. He's getting lost in the mix, and he's the victim. He's the one that lost his life. What happened to him? You know, who's at fault for that? And we looked into that in the Perk Squad only membership video, and there was some interesting ways that the cards came up in the lay of the land of what that looked like. And so seeing these cards where we clearly have two upright female cards here juxtaposed with what I saw over there, it's very interesting. So I'm going to include that clip in a little bit, but let me go ahead and finish what I've started here, and then I'll show you that clip from last time. Because again, only Perk Squad members have seen that. Other folks have not seen that yet. So what we're seeing here for this time, when we're asking if the jury is feeling right now, as of May 20th, more in favor of the defense or the prosecution, again, I'm seeing two upright female cards. I am seeing that right now they are leaning in favor of Karen Reed. Right now. There's still some time for things to be turned around. However, the defense hasn't even started. They're part of the trial yet. And they're already, from what I'm seeing here, looking like they're kind of favoring her. So what I'm seeing is this is feeling like, I mean, literally, quite literally, this is somebody iced out in the cold, not, you know, they're not doing well. Literally, here's physical injuries and all of this. It's almost exactly standing for what poor John O'Keefe had to go through, being out in the snow, injured, etc. They're kind of showing that energy here. The Knight of Cups card upright and the Moon card upright. These are cards where it's like, this is hidden. Moon card is always, cast in darkness, in the shadows, hidden. And it's not even a hidden and coming to light card. It's just a hidden card. So the jury is feeling like poor John O'Keefe out in the cold, injured, dying, all of that stuff. And here's all this hidden crap. Here's everything hidden things that are not coming to light. So it seems like even this far in the trial, and I want to say the trial's been going on for like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. Again, I haven't watched the proceedings every day, so I don't exactly know for sure or whatnot. There's probably plenty of you who could tell me for sure. But it looks like the jury is being like, I still have too many questions here. There's still too much hidden in the dark. There's still not enough coming up into the light. At this point, I feel like I shouldn't have this many lingering questions still. And so that seems to be a huge point bearing down on the minds and hearts of all the current jurors sitting there trying to make heads or tails of this, is that everything still feels obfuscated. Everything still feels hidden. Everything still feels in the dark. Everything still feels like, what exactly am I looking at? What exactly am I hearing? What exactly is going on here? Like, just cut to the chase. What happened, is kind of what it feels like they're thinking about. Like, just bring us that information. This Knight of Cups is a bringer. It's a, here you go, here's this. They're like, that's what I want. This is what I'm getting. I want you to be like, here you go, here's this chalice. Here's this information. Here's what you want. But what I'm getting is the Moon card. Darkness, shadows. What the hell? So down here, 2 female-oriented cards, a Queen of Swords and the Empress card, both coming in the upright position. So they're seeing her card currently, her cards coming in an upright position, but they do give a Page of Swords in reverse. This is a confusion type of card. So it seems like they're being like, well, we feel like her position is coming upright in that we are connecting with what we know of her positioning so far. But again, we still have questions. We're still confused. So both of these things, end result is confusion. It's just that in terms of the prosecution, it's kind of like, what the hell? All we have is confusion compared to what we want to get. Versus with the defense, they're like, okay, I feel like I can follow you on some of these things. I feel like I can understand where you're coming from with some of these things, but I'm still confused. So, I mean, and that makes sense. I guess that jurors might feel confused when the trial's not finished yet. That maybe that's not uncommon. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of trials or any trials. So I don't know what's common with this, but at least with this jury, this retrial right now, I see them having mostly confusion and having some leanings towards Karen Reed's favor at the moment. So, this being said, I want to show you that video clip that I was alluding to a while ago, because again, both of these cards came out right here, front and center, and they're both in the upright position, clear as day. Here they are. And in that last clip from that Perk Squad extended video that I posted back in June of last year, Swanee, that was a whole different lay of the land with that. So let me go ahead and without further ado, let me put that clip in here for y'all. Man, let's see. how did he pass away, if we're allowed to know? Like, who did this? How did this happen? Whatever we're allowed to know. Don't want to, pry past what I'm allowed to know, but just gonna ask. So, Spirit guides, how did John O'Keefe pass away? Okay. So, from what I'm looking at here, and again, telling people what I know from that video that I had watched, I know that one side says Karen Reed backed into him with her vehicle, and I know another side says that he may have gotten in a fight, or something, like a fight with somebody, like not with her, with some party people or something. So that being said, in terms of do I see one or the other or neither of these things here, I gotta be honest that it's weird to see these things here. First of all, this is, again, our evidence in reverse card about not having certain evidence or whatever. So either we have bad evidence or not the right evidence or something like that. But these cards, the reason why these cards in reverse make me feel weird. This is a group of people that either work together, like, because this is Pentacles about work. This is a group of people that are emotionally tied together, like friends or family. This is a family card. So we've got friends or family, work. And these are multiple people, and they're all coming up in here. If it was going to say Karen Reed did this, I would expect to see Karen Reed in here. Like a literal one woman on a card somewhere in here. We've got lots of options. We've got, a 9 of Pentacles, any of the queens, the Empress card. We've got plenty of options here of cards that have one single woman on it, that could have come in here. But instead, we literally get 3 cards here that have, here's 3 people on this card, 2 people on this card, 4 people on this card. Hell, actually, is that a person in the background? Yeah, the hell it is. Here's a person walking in the background. I don't know if that's going to be clear for y'all. But anyway, big person, little person, person in the background. And 3 people on this, 4 people on this. So that weirds me out. That's a group of people. So if people are saying that party people did something, I'm more likely to see that in here than I am to see one singular woman did this. Also, y'all know my Hierophant card. Y'all know exactly what the fuck that stands for. How many times do I say it? Institutions. It's my institutions card. We're talking about the institution of the Canton Police Department and all of the cops and stuff, are we not? And this card is a disappointment card. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm so disappointed. So, not gonna lie, in terms of what this looks like, I'll let it just my interpretation. I do not see Karen Reed in this. It does look like a group of people associated with this institution some kind of a way, or covered by the institution some kind of a way, or whatever, had something to do with this. But this is a disappointment card, which to me, and this is, again, evidence card in reverse, so to me, this looks like it wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to die. This looks like a really fucked up accident. Like, let's say there's a fight, and here I'm just guessing. I'm just pulling things out my ass, all right? That's, but like, oh, I'm sorry I poked you in the eye, Penelope. Bless you. But it feels like there's, this group of people and something happened and it went too far and it was an accident. So like, you know how people all the time say something like, be careful of how you fight. You don't know how easy it is to fatally wound somebody. You don't know how easy it is, how mortal we actually are. How easy it is for someone, to be killed or pass away or whatever. Like, be careful of your own strength. People are saying things like that all the time. It just, like, you see this kind of stuff play out in all kinds of stories all over the news all the time, and it feels kind of like that. Like, what if there was something going on and it wasn't intended to go that way, but it did, and it's like, fuck, now what? You know, or something like that. I don't think anybody in it doesn't, to me here, it does not look like anybody set out to take his life. It doesn't look like anybody meant to murder him. This looks like an accident. But accident who? Accident one single woman? Accident group of people? I don't see a Karen Reed in this. I see group of people, group of people, group of people. Work, emotional, family. Wow. All right, so y'all saw that. That was a lot. I was not expecting it to kind of come out like that. And y'all saw the whole time I was like hunting for any sign of, you know, a Karen Reed card in that lineup. You see that the guides will give me that if that is meant to come up. It didn't come up there, which is why I was like, holy cow, what the hell? So, you know, that's what I saw there. That's what I saw there. And so I'm telling you, this is just a lot. This is a lot. No wonder people are like, this is a wild case and a wild trial and retrial, and like, you know, people are just trying to make sense of it all, but people are feeling a lot of different types of ways. I understand that. So that being said, all that we've seen here so far, all that we've seen from the last two videos so far, the thing that comes up now, trial outcome for this retrial. Trial outcome for this retrial. Just seeing if that's set in stone right now. Seeing if there are some leanings towards that. Again, last time, what I saw in the cards is what came to light. So just curious if what I see this time will also come to light. So we're going to take a peek into that. Again, looking at my handy dandy notes here. I usually say sticky notes, but I wrote this on my like ripped out notepad and this on a napkin. And what's hilarious is that I've been doing that a lot lately, and apparently y'all have been noticing that I'm writing it on that instead of my sticky notes. So, speaking of Perk Squad, a Perk Squad member sent me some more sticky notes into my P.O. box. So, thank you to Butt Taco. You have a wonderful name. In fact, I wrote it on here. I was like, I have to thank Butt Taco. Thank you, Butt Taco, for my handy dandy sticky notes, which I will open and begin using so that I'll stop writing on this shit. So thank you for that. Sending me my sticky notes to the P.O. box. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who sends the sticky notes or sends me a new deck of cards or stuff like that. I appreciate y'all. Y'all crack me up. Y'all are funny. Y'all are sweet. And I love your screen names as well. So thank you, Butt Taco, for that. Shout out to you as a Perk Squad member. I always give Perk Squad shout outs. So shout out to you, Butt Taco. Thank you for being a member of the Perk Squad, and thank you for sending me some sticky notes. I will use them next time instead of all this madness. But yes, anywho, back to the scheduled content here. Let's go ahead and take a peek into what we're looking at for potential trial outcome. So again, whatever we're allowed to know, spirit guides, I always ask whatever we're allowed to know here. If for whatever reason we're not allowed to know, I'm sure we'll see that, but I'm hoping that since last time we got some information, that we could also get information again this time, and see what we're looking at. So the most likely direction that we're going in for trial outcome for this retrial now with Karen Reed, getting all shuffled up Yeah. Okay. Let's see. What can we find out? What can we find out? Very interesting, especially since, again, we've talked all about the things that we've seen, and now we're getting a reversed Queen of Wands. So let's get a context card on her, because now she's, the cards are flipping over, and they're flipping over with an upright Empress. Wonderful, clear as mud. No, I'm just kidding. We'll read this. So, what I'm looking at here. It's interesting that so far, I didn't get the kinds of cards that I usually get that feel very like legal in nature. So when we're looking at trials and things like that, a lot of times we'll see a lot of swords cards, because swords cards are all about the judicial system and legalities. They represent attorneys. They're all over the place. Here, do we see any swords cards in all 7 of these that are presented? No, we do not, which is very interesting here. Very interesting to me that for whatever reason, the judicial system is not even showing up as we're looking at trial outcome. I have no idea why that would be. That's a wild one. That one will make sense later, I guess, when things happen and we find out what happens, and we might be able to be like, oh, so that's why for some reason legalities and judicial system and stuff was kind of lacking when we're trying to look into an outcome. That's weird to me. I don't understand that. What we are seeing as well, though, with the cards that are here, since we're not seeing any swords, but what we do see here, we do see this moon card coming back up. And we see it coming back up again in an upright position, which is not good for us here. That means confusion again, hidden again. We're still seeing that kind of like, I'm confused. This is hidden. This isn't making sense kind of a thing. If it was in the reverse position, it would be more like, okay, now more came to light. Now it's out in the open, but this is still hidden. So it looks like even when the trial ends, however it ends, in whatever kind of a way it ends, even then, there will still be confusion shrouding everything. There will still be this I'm lost in the dark type of vibe that comes out of it. So I don't see this trial ending in what feels like resolution, so to speak. It still feels like things are unresolved. What the hell? So there's that. Also, what we see here, we see all 3 of these cups cards in reverse. I know the Temperance card is technically a Major Arcana card and not a Cups card, but in this way that we're seeing it, kind of same difference here. All 3 of these coming up in reverse, which are emotions. Being that they are in reverse, it feels like there's gonna be trouble separating emotions from the outcome, which is what is weird. That might be why we're seeing no swords cards here. When we see swords cards, again, it's this sense of everything was followed to the letter of the law, and everything that is coming up because the law states this must be this way, and specifically this thing legally, and like people who analyze things very procedurally, very black and white, very, analytically, solely based on the law. That's the kind of things you would see coming up in swords. But for us to have 3 of these kind of emotional types of energies coming up here in the reverse position, it seems to me like when we have some semblance of an outcome to this retrial, that there will be a lot of speculation about reaching a decision based on your gut feeling and emotion versus the letter of the law. Like, I can see people getting really, really grouchy in the comments and contesting it, being like, what the hell? If they saw this, and this evidence, then there's no way they should have been able to come to that conclusion. They were going off of their gut feeling, or they were going off of some sort of, like emotional type of thing. There's no way that you rigorously did this by the book. Like, I can see some sort of feelings here that the jurors were too emotional in their considerations. That seems to be coming up. So I get the sense that whatever it is that they say, there's going to be a huge swath of people that are very displeased with what the jury says and pick it apart through that type of lens. So I see that coming as well. So we've got all that confusion. We've got all this emotional energy here. What we're left with is this. Now, when I see this, it's interesting that the first thing that came up was this female card in reverse. So I know that as y'all are watching this, y'all are like, uh-oh, does that mean that this is bad for Karen Read? But then we get a context card and we get our upright Empress on it, which is what was coming through earlier. And people are like, wait a second, how is she upright and reverse? What's going on here? Well, if we're going to take this apart, technically speaking, the Empress card is the highest of all this feminine energy kind of, queenly vibe. She's the queen of all queens or whatever in the tarot. And the Queen of Wands is basically subordinate to the Empress in the tarot. To me, this feels like the jury splitting hairs over something in their final decision. Now, this is where, again, I'm not an attorney and I've not been following the ins and outs of this case. So this might be something that some of you might be able to help me interpret as I'm about to say what this is giving me. You might be able to put words to it. Just like how in that clip you saw where I didn't know about hung jury or mistrial, so I was trying to say it the best I could, and then y'all gave words to that. Hey, this is a hung jury, this is a mistrial. I'm about to do that kind of thing here again. It looks like there's some kind of a way that the jury can be getting hung up on whatever this subordinate thing is, this lesser thing is, while still thinking of Karen Read in an upright position here. So I don't know exactly what that means because, again, I knew before that there was either guilty or not guilty. Now I know there's guilty, not guilty, or some sort of hung jury mistrial type of thing. And so based on me being like, oh, those are the three possibilities. You can either be guilty, you can be non-guilty, or you can get hung up on this. This is showing some kind of a lesser thing around her, a subordinate thing, something that I don't know, whatever is less, that there's some kind of a hang up on that, but her overall card coming out upright here. This card that's left over here is a success card. It's a confidence card. It's a winning the battle and being on our high horse card. So these two are quite positive for Karen Read. These two are quite positive for her. This one is not as positive for her. So I don't know what that means. Here I am at the crossroads again of I don't know what that means in terms of guilty or not guilty, because this isn't black or white, it's guilty or not guilty. This is contextual, and I don't know what this means, but I'm wondering if some of you in the comments might know what this means. People that are maybe attorneys, or that you've been following this so deeply that you know all the different options for outcomes, or whatever. If you know anything, then please just write it in the comments so that those of us who don't quite understand can get some sort of understanding, because here it feels like we've got two cards in an upright in favor of Karen Read that would make me feel like a not guilty thing. But there's a weird, I'm getting hung up on this one thing that's smaller. It's a smaller detail or a smaller thing, getting hung up on it. And so they're not all three upright. There's something here that there's a hang up here. There's a hang up here. So I don't know exactly what that means for guilty versus non-guilty. I can see things headed in her favor for the most part in both what the jury currently thinks about it right now, as of May 20th, and in terms of where it looks like it's headed. But this hang up has to be addressed. Whatever this is, this has to be addressed, because I do see some problems around this. So, very interesting indeed. Good Lord. Why is it always so complicated? Like, everything is so complicated right here. I swear, down to the details, down to the context, down to the minutia. Y'all tell me what you think based on what you know, or what your gut says, or any of that kind of stuff. You tell me what you think. If you'd like a private reading with me, then BeasTalksAndTarot.com. You can book a private reading with me. I do 15, 30, 45-minute private readings. Also, Reiki Energy healing for anybody that feels like they need some kind of a cleansing, clearing, tune-up for that. Also, intuitive healing sessions for anybody that feels like, hey, I'm stressed, I'm stuck, I want to be able to get past these things, I want to be able to unload some stuff and just really get to where I want to go in life. Then we can connect with that on my website. And anybody that wants to learn to read the cards the way I read the cards, that's tarot tutoring on the website. So all of that, BeasTalksAndTarot.com, if you are interested. And let me check my not sticky notes here, my papers and stuff like that. So we looked at the jury opinion. We looked at Karen Reed versus the state. We looked at the trial outcome. I showed you the video when we asked the question about John O'Keefe. Showed you the prediction for the trial outcome on the last trial. You know, when I recorded those, you know what day today is. So it looks like we're covering all the ground on here. And this has been a lot. This has been a lot to juggle this time around. Holy hell, it's just too much. And I guess we need to end this with a B-roll so that we can have some kind of smiles and, you know, lightheartedness at the end of things that are pretty heavy. Because at the end of the day, this is someone's life on the line here for whether she is free or imprisoned. And more importantly, it's somebody's life who is already gone and doesn't even have the chance to continue to live it, who some people feel like is being missed in all of this and is not receiving justice. So there's a lot, you know, that's actually at stake here, a lot of heaviness. So B-roll here for some lifting and laughs at the end. And I reckon I will see y'all on the next one. So don't be a stranger. Come back and see me, and I will talk at you later. Bye, y'all.
Shark fin shark fin some sharks in it. Okay, shark fin shark fin, please open that up. You're right here. Yeah. Please come help me and check it out. All right, let's go. There's not enough evidence for rich people to live, but there's enough evidence that guys will. Oh, there's grizzlies here? There's a lot of them, and if you spend enough time in the woods, they're going to know them for sure. So that's my main concern. I will be sleeping with my gun very close and a flashlight around my neck, because is that crown? Did you do that? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Are you on the bread crunch? Good boy. You see the kitchen? Off the bed.
He's double espresso. This one's for fries?
Intense.
Definitely